Second by second. All in favor? Aye. At 7:06. No action taken at closed session. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as a public record. Deliberations led by Dr. Robinson. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Here, Dr. Carol Robinson, Jim Bender, Mario Gutierrez. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Harris, second by. All in favor? Aye. Okay, if you wish to make a public comment, email, which we got, no later than 6:30, and your public comment will be read out loud by a board member or board of trustees. We have two of them. This is Dr. Robinson. Can I state the name? Yes. Jasmine William wrote this letter. Thank you everyone for your time. I was hoping to resign from this district in good standing. I even attempted to hold a meeting with Lisa from HR and Carol from SED so that we could have an opportunity to discuss what the district's expectations are until my official date of resignation to ensure a clean and smooth transition. Today I came to the district office to schedule it with Lisa in person as I did not hear back from her via various forms of communication. I had also thought to schedule it in person as there have been times in the past where I didn't receive a response back. When I came into HR, I was greeted nicely by the front desk personnel. I had a seat in the waiting room while Lisa was on the phone in her office, which I could hear her conversation with Superintendent clearly. When she came out of her office, she was extremely disrespectful and was literally yelling and was storming off, saying that she didn't have the time and that she was actually dealing with people at work, which made me feel really low as an employee who was trying to clear communication to ensure a smooth resignation. I didn't raise my voice at her. I had just asked when I could schedule a meeting with her and when I can expect to hear back from her. She came back from bed and yelled that Cheryl had emailed me back and then yelled a date and time for a meeting at me and stormed off. I was in such disbelief of how disrespectful someone can be, especially as the lead of HR. I then spoke to Paul afterwards, angrily I admit, and was told that he disclosed information to me during my onboarding, such as the work calendar in detail, which is untrue. I was first told about the admin calendar by Joanna November of last year. When I had asked him what the issues are, because I feel retaliated for resigning, he stated that the issue is that I'm not showing up for work when I had initially volunteered to come in, but then had to cancel after being ill in the middle of a pandemic. And the other issue is that I wasn't turning in my end of year work calendar as one, I wasn't informed of it during my onboarding. Two, my first date of hire was in August when the admin schedule starts in July, and I don't believe I should be held accountable for the days that I wasn't even hired yet for. At the end of the day, it is his word against mine. That too is an employee of HR. I followed my talk with Paul with an immediate resignation, ending my 2 to 2.5 month notice short of about 6 weeks, as I cannot work for a district with leaders in an important department such as HR who behave in such a way. I had intended to resign on good terms, which I've made clear even via email numerous times. However, after my experience today, I can no longer work for this district in good standing. I hope the board implements a new hire onboarding process so another employee does not have to be held responsible for information that HR falsely claims that they shared. There should be a way to hold both parties accountable to what was discussed during onboarding. I also highly suggest Lisa take an in-service on professionalism and customer service, especially as an HR supervisor. Thank you for the opportunity at Southern Kern Unified School District. I am truly saddened that my employment with this district had to end this way. Okay, and this communication is from Jerry Fuentes. I'm writing this letter to address some concerns myself and my child have about what will take place this upcoming year, such as when and how will our students come back to school, and how can all of us ensure smooth transitions and getting these kids back on track. I understand the schools just don't make these decisions alone. We have a country who directs us and, of course, government officials. As a parent of a child going into the 11th grade who is academically doing well and who desires and dreams of going to college and pursuing his love and passion in football, this is a scary time for him. For a kid in 11th grade with only one real year of football film, that makes him worry, as I'm sure you can understand. He himself, without me knowing until he wrote it, wrote the superintendent and the school board about some things that he wants to do for his team and for his school. We have to keep these kids' dreams and hopes alive for an amazing future. I'm sure we are all well aware of the revenue high school football brings to RHS and the amazing things within the school it helps to provide as a gateway to all other sports. And if the community doesn't know that, I'm glad you do now. Academics, athletics, bands, and athletes, all of these programs, and I'm sure that there are some that I'm leaving out. All of these programs help make Roseman High School what it is. If we take these programs away from these kids, we're fundamentally taking away the heart of this whole school. Also, I'd like to know who the new athletic director will be this year. That position has made sports look like a joke for several years now, and I just hope and pray that they'll put someone in that position that actually cares about these kids and their futures of futures, all of them. Politicians are merely making suggestions. These are not laws. Parents should be allowed to decide what we think is safe for our kids and at least have our voices heard. I appreciate the board's time with hearing me out, and I will give some sort of direction as to what we can do as a community to help move forward. Yes. Also, who is taking over the athletic department next year? And are there any coaches for football at all? Thank you. And we have reports of and communications. We have recognition for Dwayne Moore, Isabella Heredia, and Leilani Gonzalez. Well, I first want to say thank you to our board members who led from the front from Tropico Middle School. It's not easy to step up and a student board member. It takes a lot of courage, and it's a very responsible thing to do. I wish I had more students who had the desire and were motivated to sit on the board and play an integral role as students today. And so to them, I want to say to Leilani and Isabel that they've done Leilani Gonzalez and Isabel Heredia, that both of you did a great job this year, and you represented Tropico Middle School really, really well. Those are your role models, and these are the students that we would like all of our students to follow and want to, uh, model what these two young ladies have represented. So we have these nice certificates signed by the board members and myself for them. So we'll make sure that they get them. And of course, high school senior, who we've heard more often than not, who's gunning for my position. Nothing would suit me more than to one day. I hope he successful. Last time I had a chance to talk to Dwayne Moore, a representative from Roseman High School Early College campus. He informed me that he very well could be attending Emmett Valley Community College in the fall. So that makes me very happy. Dwayne going to ABC, and the reason it makes me very happy is because I will really be able to keep tabs on you when you go our relationship is not going to end. I'll be able to keep up and make sure that you're doing well at the community college, and perhaps also I will see you as a board member one day at Amet Valley College. And so I wanted to share something that Dwayne doesn't know. We have two plaques for him. The Board of Trustees, beautiful plaque, recognizes Dwayne Moore in appreciation for serving as student board representative 2019-2020. And we also have a certificate, again signed by the board members and myself. And I also want to let Dwayne know, he doesn't know this, but I am giving him superintendent scholarship. And so Dwayne, before graduation, and or I will at Community College. I wish you the very best. I want to thank you. Education off the chart. I love the fact that you and let us know what you like and dislike in our meetings. And I wish you the best at Antelope Valley Community College on. I know you're going to achieve your dreams someday. So congratulations.
Another bottle of water. All right, I'll be reading the CSE board report from 20th May 2020 from their president, Gary Jones, correct? All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all well in these times. This week is Classified Employees Week. I wish that there was more I could do to celebrate the hardworking employees that we have. A proper celebration will have to wait until another day. But I'm proud of all of our difficult work that our frontline employees have done. Our child nutrition department placing themselves possible harm's way to ensure that our communities are safe. West Park staff and classified volunteers ensuring students are supervised. Clerks and principal secretaries keeping school offices open for parents to turn in and hand out learning packets, keeping track of the process. Our IT department getting our laptops and hotspots to 3rd through 12th grade and helping teachers, parents, and students through the challenges of distance learning. Custodians for always keeping our schools clean and safe. Maintenance and ground workers for ensuring our campuses are neat and functional. And other staff, librarians, paraeducators, and nurses for always helping out in any and every way that they can. Our classified staff are important cogs in the machinery of education. And thanks to them, teachers and administrators can focus more on developing the minds of children. Thank you all and classified for the outstanding work you do. Select classified staff have been working since March 18th when we began our shutdown. Some of us have been working every day since with no sort of break. We are thankful that California ensured that all of our staff have been fully paid through this time, that those of us who are coming into work each day, potentially into contact with COVID-19, were denied any sort of hazard pay or additional leave. These people are on the front lines, doing all that they can for the district and our community. Thankful for their jobs, yet demoralized by the treatment that the district has put them through. If we are sick in any form, we are still losing sick days. We are being denied vacation, and the comp time that we earn by contract is still being denied for youth. Even though the state of California has guaranteed that school districts would be funded to pay their employees in full. Allowing us to use our vacation and comp time would only benefit the district financially and improve the morale of the most essential employees. Meanwhile, our brothers and sisters who are on the stay-at-home order, sick or not, thankfully do not have these concerns. But the people coming in every day, sometimes to sit idle, put at risk for no reason, would have to lose their pay leave time in order to stay at home, taking care of their health, home, and family. I often hear Barbara Gaines speak of fairness and equality, or equity, But the more that the time passes, classified staff feel less equal to their credentialed coworkers. We are put in the danger zone with no show of care, concern for the health of theirs or their families. We are being told to continue clocking in and out of work, even though the hours we work at home are not reflected by the time clock. Then the district wants to incorrectly dock our pay to reflect the time clock, even though there are documents stating that time clock and payroll are not to be connected. Even when our state governor has stated that we would be paid in full. Also, we are told that one reason for clocking in and out is due to safety, so we know who is on campus. If this were even remotely true, teachers and administrators would be required to clock in as well. We are being directly lied to. This is just a way to gain data on our classified employees. How this data will be used is most likely going to be against us in some way. And it is disappointing that we are always treated like second-class citizens. We are paid less, denied leave, forced into hazardous situations, doing physical labor to ensure that our community is taken care of. Then, when there needs to be a cut to the budget, we are the first to go, even though we cost the least in the district, even though we are the essential front line that you feel is simply disposable. But when we hear talks of equity and still feel cast out, it bitters us. Our moral drops, and it pains us because we truly love our jobs. Still, the district wants to pull in workers with compromised health issues, those over a certain age. If they are unable to work, fearing their own safety, they are being asked to use their sick time, forcing them, who are already at risk, to place their jobs at risk. It is not moral. It is not fair. It is not right that classified staff are being put at risk and told to use up all their available resources to avoid illness when teachers and admins are not held to the same standard. Classified staff have been denied allowance to adjust schedules, which they were simply rotating staff to reduce the amount of contact with others, ensuring social distancing while completing their jobs. The district continues to show us that they do not care about classified, giving us vague directives at the last minute. The lack of communications coming from Gaines has been a growing concern for everyone I have spoken with. From all aspects of the district, I am disgusted with the way that the district is choosing to act. I hope to see some changes soon that reflect some sort of care or empathy to our health, to our family's health. All it takes is reaching out and asking us what would benefit us, what would truly help our workers to complete their job and keep us safe. But there is no communication from the top. There is no inquiry as to how we feel. There is no respect for our lives. I wish you all the best in the continuation of this pandemic. Not necessarily fun work and hard work with high places, ladders to climb, and lots of physical activity. But they're making our buses look different for amazing what they were even shocked with coats of wax, yellow bus, and one next to the other. So they were doing good work, important work in our buses. We don't usually get to do that. But they work during attendance days and not much more. So we have limited. There's nice things they are doing. Out of them for being there. I had great interaction with them. They were positive, laughing, enjoying themselves. They engage with each other as colleagues in ways that they don't normally get to. Get to work, ready to go inspect their buses, get in their buses, go pick up the come back and connection. That time to build a bit of a product. Some ways that I always talk about our food service workers and how important they are and the really important work that they've done since we went out. As the administrator directly over them, I can't say anything other than I'm incredibly proud of the work they've done. They've been there, they've worked really hard. They have, as Superintendent Gaines has told you, they have been the advocates for doing more. They wanted to add dinner, they wanted to do weekend meals, they wanted to do things that we weren't really asking them to do. So I think they should be commended for stepping up, taking action, and making sure kids in our community weren't hungry. So I'm proud of them for all this stuff. Thank you. Yeah. Are any of them getting hazard pay? No. No, there was an MOU. Well, the superintendent negotiated with them, and it did not include hazard pay. Spring break. No, they are not being denied vacation. We don't have comp time in the district anymore, but no. They do. They've been very, very positive. And this is my first interaction with the transportation people. They've been only back Monday. But I've been out to the site as the nutrition services people are working. And they're doing a great job and they've been very positive. Yeah, I've served food with them and interacted over long periods of time. So it's not just a walk by or a drive by. They had time to talk to people.
They wanted to serve during the time. If they have any illness or reason not to serve, they were not forced to serve. We asked volunteers to rotate the schedule so that they would be not there the length of a normal day. So we have several that chose not to volunteer.
We did, and that's a really good point that I forgot. One point of clarification from the memo, the reference, I think, as I understood it, is trying to be conducted for people who had COVID-related
insurance and staying out. That's not true. The MOU specified those people who were COVID related under any circumstance were not to be deducted their sick time, and we have not violated the MOU.
By doctor's code, COVID related?
Yes, unless they fell into a category like over 65, we know their age, and so we honored that as it was referenced by multiple levels of government as a critical element of safety, and not dock those people their sick time.
I think when you were brought on, you made something kind of saying that you were the overseer of classified drugs. I'll say overseer as, for lack of a better term. You were kind of like the great for that. So, how have you heard a lot of complaints from the classified employees of abuse, mistreatment, maltreatment?
No. Okay. We have it has been extremely important for me, personally, but also because I know it's important for my superintendent that this be an equitable process. I feel quite comfortable in saying that is 100% true. We have gone almost overboard to document who we've taken leave time from and why we've taken it in every instance. And we use that as a comparison tool as we make the next decision of when we take leave time. And under most circumstances, no leave time has been taken from people between the period of leaving and returning this Monday. With our nutrition services people, for example, I can speak to them best since I've been most engaged with them. We had people who needed bereavement time right away at the beginning. No questions asked. They're entitled to bereavement time. We honored that, and they were able to go and attend to their family needs as they should. We have had people request specific time off during the period between spring break when we left and now, and all of them have been honored. And it's vacation time. It has cash value. Yes, we did deduct that time. If the time used would have been under normal circumstances, it was following the MOU. We were very careful to make sure that anytime we implement the MOU, it was employee benefits, and we had a reason for that, and for consistency with that. Otherwise, we're just implementing the MOU.
So you got complaints from confidential administrative folks and credential as far as complaints of maltreatment or anything during this?
I have not, Mr. Kingsley. To be perfectly honest, that whole report is a little troubling to me because my teachers have been working, even though they have been most days from home, but they're still working in Google Classroom, preparing lessons for the students, and oftentimes having to come in to bring in packets, copy packets, distribute packets, etc., and help in those lines. I can honestly tell you that we were asked to go out on spring break one day early. So our spring break was scheduled for March 20th, which was Friday. Kern County was pretty much telling all superintendents, close on Wednesday, let that be your last day. So I opened spring break one day earlier, which was March 19th. Most classified employees, and I keep in mind I did this as a superintendent in a district that was not fiscally solvent at that time. But I sent as many people home as I possibly could with full pay, and they were out. We did not start bringing back people. We had volunteers like the team at West Park who's been there doing the supervision for 8 weeks. They have done an incredible job. And we have offered and offered and offered for them to please go home. We'll bring in other volunteers. And in many of the positions, like, for example, Miss Lacey, who's been there every week. Debbie, Secretary of West Park, she's been there every week. But I have tried to encourage them. And we've had custodians rotate in and out. And also the teachers who have been leading the supervision for that group of students. But from March 19th up until really, I started bringing back some people around May 11th. And then we brought back the entire district office team on May 18th. People were out for almost 2 months, thanks with full pay. And many of the job descriptions are still, I still have not brought back because unlike the report, I do not want people just standing around. I felt I had a need for IT. I felt I had a need for my custodians because if I don't get my schools cleaned up now, pretty soon they'll be going out on some of their summer vacations. And we are required by the governor to feed our children, to supervise our children, and to provide an education for our children. And I'm proud to say that Southern Kern has done all three. And I believe we've done a really good job. Thank you to the classified team and been, dealing with this pandemic on a daily basis. But to my knowledge, the only people that have been charged time is we've had a couple people it became knowledge to us that were not within an hour. The MOU says they should be able to report within an hour. We've had a couple people that came to our attention were on vacation out of state. And so that is a requirement that we have to deal with that. But I know that Kern County was also surprised. You're not charging anybody, and that was a hit I chose to take because I do care for people and I do care about my classified staff, and that's why for almost 2 months, most of them have been on paid leave.
And board members, I mean, don't necessarily name, but it's about maltreatment at the board level. I mean, we get calls on a bunch of other stuff that I've never gotten. So I got to kind of wonder if nobody's hearing anything where somebody's coming from. Basically, why I'm asking the question. You think it would bubble up? We're all pretty much plugged in. You think somebody would have heard something somewhere, somehow. I mean, I understand we're wearing masks at Albertsons, but they still know who we are. They still stop. So I'm just wondering who and where and how. If you are having issues, come talk to us. But until that time, there's not really. We get letters saying if the stuff's going on, that stuff doesn't bubble up. And nobody's hearing it at the right level. Of course, nothing's going to get solved. So I don't know if this is the right level because there's a bunch of accusations with no substance, no examples. And I'd be interested to find out, what the real scheme is.
Did you have any comments?
That letter is a little disturbing to me because I don't implement any of our employees for their second class. I try to provide special. So that does bother me a lot. I like to address that letter, wrote it, and some type of insight on it. If we overlook something, we're sorry, let's fix it. But there's so much to be not true. I did hear about hazards one time through the roads and gossip page. But, we live in this is a tough time. This is a new situation for everyone. We go out and we claim all these people as heroes, and I thank God for them. I thank for the work that they're doing, the effort in that. But this is when the real heroes come into play. When it's time to get up and get back to work and start doing what we're supposed to do, that's when all the real heroes start coming out. That's when our town can unite and make something great. So this letter really bugs me. I'd like you to grab a hold of that letter and if there's any truth to it. If it is, let's fix it. I'm sure things get slipped down the crack a little bit, but I haven't seen it. I've been out to the site, talking to people. I've talked to people that I know aren't working, and they're thankful that they don't have to go back to work. Some are scared, wanting that benefit. There is some people that have to work, and as far as I understand, most of them are volunteers, right? Most of them are volunteers, and I don't understand how that disturbing. But that's back to work. Let's do what we're supposed to. Let's all become that hero that we're supposed to be at this rough time right now. So,
Well, I understand that there are some physicians that have had to work outside of their normal duty, but within the need. For instance, IT has had to make sure that everyone is connected and, um, all, huh? Yeah, but I mean, they've had to work when other people got to stay home. And uh, I, I just think about the parable in the Bible where the farmer paid the same wages to the person who came first and worked all day and the person who came and worked 1 hour, and they all got the same wages. And the people who worked all day said, wait a minute, how come they're getting paid the same thing that I'm getting paid when I worked all day? And he said, didn't you agree to this wage? So if you are having to work your job just because somebody else is having to work your job, you are not being put out in. You are just doing your job. And yes, that letter was disturbing to me. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that to Gary Jones, I'm also available. You can give me a call. I'll be glad to meet with you, and I'm open. So I'm listening. Okay, now we can go on to Associate Superintendent.
This is our last one for graduation.
That's it.
This is our next one.
Oh,
So I just wanted to say congratulations to the students that will be graders, graders, also promoted to our students. Maybe your activities were cut short, but just remember all the struggles and successes that you have experienced over the last few years. Feel brilliant and will do go on to the future. We're working on updating our dress code. So I put that together and put it out to all of you. Everybody has put out. So I'm really excited with it. So we'll be finalizing that and to bring that up the next one. Get it out.
Student dress code? Not teacher dress code?
Well, that's a whole different thing.
Okay.
We're going to be doing some interviews Thursday and Friday for our 60. I believe there will also be some high school interviews that those are taking place at the high school. I'll be involved in 6 months Thursday and Friday. Next week we're going to hold interviews for our special. Again, have our supervision that is going on over at West Park. Thankful for everybody that is has been there working diligently every day. There's about 13 or 14 students that come, and that'll go on for the year. And I just wanted to say that I certainly am disappointed by that letter because I think it's very misleading. I think that it represents a members and not all members of CCA. Very honest with CCA, and I think most of the members are very thankful that they have had this time to get home. I know some of them are really wanting to get back to work. They're very thankful that they're getting paid during this time.
and I just want to reiterate how much I appreciated our student leaders, representing their schools the way they did here, very proud to have them as students in Southern Kern, and they exemplify um, the type of student that we are very proud of in this district. So I wish them the very best as they start their hopefully next school year on August 12th. That's our goal. I also wanted to acknowledge the our classified staff. It is Classified Appreciation Week, and I can't thank those who have graciously volunteered this past 2 months to serve and to help us meet the governor's orders. Our orders by Governor Newsom. We really didn't have a choice. We had to feed our children, educate our children, and to provide supervision. And again, I'm very proud that we were able to do all three. We couldn't have done it without our classified staff. And so now our goal is to, in the next probably week or so, revisit the rest of our classified positions and try to find a few days that they can come in and maybe help their sites with promotion and some of the checking out of the seniors and different things so that they could possibly come into work. But I don't want them just coming in to stand around. I don't want to waste their time for sure. And so I want to wish them a great classified employee week and thank them for everything they do for Southern Kern Unified School District. We have June 2nd a promotion. It'll be also a vehicle type processional promotion at Rare Earth and Abe Lincoln at 6 o'clock in the evening, and those parents will get further notice from Mr. Forrest regarding that. And then on June 4th, we will have two at the high school early college campus, one at 4 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. And the graduating seniors have been divided up based on their last name. So there'll be about 78 students in each promotion and enough time in there to be able to clear out. So we look forward to being there, and it won't be exactly what the seniors had hoped for probably when they started their senior year, but at least one way to say goodbye to them and wish them the very best as they pursue their next academic, hopefully college or community college. So that's pretty much all for me. Board member communication, Mr. Bender.
Somewhere. How fast?
Okay, Mr. Patel.
Want to thank Dwayne for his assistance as a board member. He is what student board member should be. Very engaged, always had an opinion on what should be done, which that's what they're here for. We need to know what kids need at the high school, not just what we think they need. So it really helps to have a student board member be interactive with us and let us know what, how they feel about what our rules or change of rules or policies have to do with them. So it's very nice. Someday I want him to do that in ours, helping run this district, and we can put in good hands with somebody like that. That letter is concerning, especially since there's a lot of us in the community that went to and said, hey, what's going on? I have not heard anything. I'm here in the community every single day, pretty much 24/7. So I haven't heard of it. I have a lot of people who work in this district that know me personally, and I have not heard of it. So I can find out what really is going on. As far as hazard pay, that's something that the governor decided he wanted to try to implement. It has not happened. There's no money put forth for that. As an employer, my people have worked through this whole pandemic. First, using all our safety, and they don't have the, there is no money for that. It's not been doled out like other people who have had to stay home, like Ted said about you're supposed to be within an hour's reach of your job if you are needed. Going on vacation during that time is not part of that. I know a lot of people who are having to stay home because they're locked out of their offices, having to work at home. And most of them, they're not at their computer. They have to be within minutes to be able to respond of a question or something going on. I know lots of people close to me who have pretty much given up their kitchens to computers and all their workstations right there because they're doing their jobs and their job is to stay home and take care of business. So,
Dr. Robinson?
Well, I really want to say how I think that this is going in such a positive direction. I am so proud of the people who have, like food service and transportation and the people providing supervision and the administrative staff here. I am very proud of what is going on in this district. I am very happy with Mrs. Jane Green. She's very open and talk to. I've never seen her turn anybody away. She always encourages people to come and talk to her. I like the way the district is going, and I'm sorry that this person doesn't. Thank you.
I think I've already said enough for tonight. Mr. Armstrong, thank you for coming out to each board meeting, keeping us legal, getting us on the airwaves so people can hear this meeting. Just want to verify you're not feeling abused. Okay. Because I cannot, we cannot afford to lose you. You're a key, you're a cog in this thing, keeping this going, keeping this legal. So thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
I just want to say thank you to Dwayne again. I think he did a marvelous job and he made the board, meetings fun. And I think that that's the way board meetings should be. Besides taking care of business and things that have to happen, we should, have some kind of a laugh or enjoyment coming to the board meetings. And hopefully there'll be more. Once we do meet again, we can have a bigger crowd and we can personalize, better. So all I can say is stay safe and healthy and hope soon and we'll start. So thank you so much again. Okay, so consent items 8 through 8. Do we have any questions?
no questions. I would move to accept the item.
I do have a question about ProCare. That's just a registered nurse that we have on attendance.
Is that on the featuring?
That is on,
Yeah.
yeah.
So our register is going to sign it for next week. We were going to contact for next
Okay. Oh, all right. That I didn't, because it said therapy I just wondered. Thank you.
I thought we were gonna hire.
Well, I believe that right now, what we're going to do is something center. So,
Yeah, this is Cheryl signed this, so is it special or related, or is it?
no, it's
Journal. Okay. Okay.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approve proposed 2020 high school graduation procedures with consideration of current COVID-19 and the existence.
Yes, you have in your packet, a map along with the, procedures that Grossman High School, is planning on fourth, both at the, 4 and the 7 o'clock, um, celebrate their graduation to, a beautiful procession on. You probably read it, discussed it already, but I just, wanted to make sure that you approve their plans. Will only exit the car, for a picture and to receive the jacket of their diploma. It's a very short trip down the home side of the track. They will enter the northwest side of the track and, exit at the southwest side of the track. And so there's a map there. Yeah, 40 and 41, sort of to give you a visual of what that, procession would look like. This is a copy of the letter for parents and graduates. We've also asked if by chance there's a student out there who may need, a vehicle for the evening. We're going to make sure that we accommodate that student as well. Procession.
That's going to be, there's a lot of high schools in Kern County that actually graduation.
Mr. Casey, I have not, but sometimes, I don't always hear everything, like, for example, like, providing supervision for 47 districts in Kern County, that was a governor mandate, and to me, the word mandate has some, has some dire significance, especially if it's coming from the governor, but yet, I've heard that there were only, a few districts who actually provide supervision. So they may be keeping it a little on the hush what they're going to do, but I have not made it. What I followed was the recommendation. As you saw, I think I provided you a copy. They did not even want windows down. So, we are letting the students out for a few minutes, to get seconds to get their picture and, their jacket and back in the car. So like that's kind of the piece we do this time. Is there a motion? All in favor? On policy. Yes, these board policies are, for a first reading, and we'll come back, again, probably on June 10th for your, approval. I do want to, highlight a couple of things here and answer any questions if you have them. First of all, you'll notice on the, charter school authorization and oversight renewal revocation, these are all, not applicable to us because we do not have a charter school at this time. So, also, parcel tax, we confronted, it's also optional, we confronted Mr. Barth on this one, and this parcel tax, you have to get the entire community to vote in favor of it, and, so, we chose not to do that that at this time. Food services, which is board policy 3551, had an option of, option one states that our child nutrition employees and, et the cost of food, et cetera, is paid from the general fund, or option two states that it's paid from the cafeteria fund. And again, we consulted with Mr. Barth to inform the board policy committee, President Sanchez and Dr. Robinson, that we in Southern Kern option two, all of our cafeteria employees and our food are paid from the cafeteria fund. So that was um, uh, a choice there. And then we went on certification, as basically talks about, covers that our goal is first and foremost, we always try to hire highly qualified people, but there are some members out there that we approve in case we're not able to find always highly qualified people. And then suicide prevention, you'll notice that the suicide prevention policy for Southern Kern is also in the board agenda, and the requirement of that of these board policies was for us to have a suicide prevention policy that covers specific, it delineates specific items that it wanted covered, that the board policy would cover, and kudos to our director of special education, Cheryl, when I asked her for a board policy that covers these things. She had actually already had one that she had worked on and just updated it to meet all the mandates of this board policy. And so it was also attached here for your review. And so the one that board policy that we, Dr. Robinson and President Sanchez felt should come to the board for you to discuss was suspension and expulsion due process. And option one of that, if you will look at in your board agenda, it talks about item K on the item K is on the next page, and item K 48900K states disrupted school activities or otherwise willfully defy the valid authority of supervisors, teachers, administrators, school officials, or other school personnel engaged in the performance of their duties. So this option one says that we will not be sending students in K-8 for violating Ed Code, Discipline Code 48900K. That's option one. Option two says that this board chooses not to suspend students who violate K in grades K through 12. So K through 8 is it's already prohibited, but we can, if you choose, choose option two, which says that we will not suspend a child who violates um, uh, the section. Letter K, which is, the disruption of school activities in grades 9 through 12 as well. So that would mean the entire gamut of our school district, 12. I think that's interesting, and obviously for the board today. Um, most of the time, I would say that teachers can send a student out of their class, or if they're totally disruptive, and I wouldn't want to say in the high school that couldn't happen. I believe that if we're talking a total disruption at the high school level that would warrant a suspension, it possibly would have to be something very severe, but you might also want to consider just not suspending on any kind of a violation. That's pretty much your decision. Disruption can be severe.
Option one is
K-8 only. Mhm. Yes.
But option one is already, that was, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
one,
only because, you are older. No.
No, yeah,
But it's option
it's an option then. With option one, in K-8, cannot spend on a K. But with option two, at least at the high school, should be, behavior warrant a suspension of K, you have that option. And so,
Are we going to be discussing at all
yeah,
later? 'Cause- So I had a question about this particular subject.
I'll make a motion.
I agree. Option one.
well, there's informational.
right.
yes. And we'll bring it back.
Why don't, policy? I have this for July, for uh, that has 2 years, yeah, has 2 years left on it, but we cannot put someone for more than, more than 2 years. So, for 6 months, somebody, so, the next time election, we have to bring something on. I would. Term for the next one. Just, term 2 and 3. So.
Yeah, I understand that.
But it would still keep us, with, a rotating board, but, yeah, kind of. That's another side. Full term. All of.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe, and I will check with schools legal on this, you have 3 of your board members up for reelection in November, correct?
Well, yeah, but it would be 2 more of a normal 4-year term.
Mm-hmm.
One would end up, if you followed the average, third one would be.
And I believe Mr. Herndon, if Sally or, I think Sally and I have discussed this with the schools legal, and I believe that is the way it had to be. So I don't know if you could transfer a 4-year to Mr. Tankston without asking
Would have
one.
to transfer, would be.
Would be up for a 4-year term instead of a 2-year term.
Could we transfer it to that 4-year term? I thought we could, as long as you're not doing 4 board members at a time.
You want me to look into that?
Yeah, 4-year term instead of. Because, I mean, to me, that's something. That's like,
Right.
Dr. Robinson, she took a 2-year term.
Right.
Because
somebody has resigned.
Somebody
and
had
I
resigned,
took
but,
their place.
the only one that was up was, I was up for reelection. And your seat, that's it, that's it. So, I did, but coming up, that many people coming on at one time, I feel let's find out.
I will.
We'll do it like the last time. I like that.
Oh, wow. I was trying to help.
And that was just informational, so
Okay, we will look into that.
that may perhaps possibly.
Okay, so proceeding with the board policies, then we had the concurrent enrollment, which applies to us because we do have concurrent enrollment at the Roseman High School early college campus. And then working remotely and distance learning, these are new board policies, and it basically outlines that in working remotely, that there is no entitlement to work remotely, and that employees who are granted the ability to work remotely are subject to the same compensation benefits and other terms and conditions of employment appropriate. And distance learning, that we must provide distance learning opportunities may be offered, like for example, if there's a crisis like the COVID-19, that a health issue, that we would be able to offer our students and provide training and support to the best of our ability for this distance learning. So these are two new board policies.
Could we use this policy for a student to go and be around other students, like has a compromised son? Fit in this in the future?
Well, that's possibly on hospital, independent study. I'm not sure if distance learning
It would be more for a whole classroom.
it's pretty much talks about in the event of a school closure. I think this is looking at the big pandemic type of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of these board policies will be brought back for additional review and approval at the next board meeting. Are there any questions?
Personal items. Approve the following listed personal items.
Okay. Well, pretty much self-explanatory. We've had a couple of people resign, and some people who have decided to from one school to another, or maybe change content of what they taught at, say, the high school. Maybe they were moving from. We have our ag teacher moving from ag to chemistry. Same school, but just a different assignment. So that's just people sort of making a request to you, and the district granting those based on qualification first and foremost. And,
I move.
All in favor?
Question. Last meeting, employee retired. Yeah, well, retired. Are we faced, could be are we? Basically, by teaching, by other potential, or don't have a degree. We're not looking at an important that math. And my kids have problems with math. Right now, I sent him. He was really happy. But was asking about that, and I wanted to bring it up and make sure that we're taking into consideration of what we're looking at. I mean, all his knowledge is probably possible to get from somebody who graduated from college, from university, but still, are we going after somebody who taught math? We have so many books already that we can afford to do math like that.
I believe we have a math teacher who's still a fifth or one of those that is an excellent teacher. He's an excellent mathematician.
That's my,
Yes,
I mean,
we need, there are a few math openings, in the district, Mr. Bender, and just because we don't see them on this list, this is the, sort of the, intra-district people who have decided they want to move from one site to the other or do something different. Obviously, people who have moved, HR has, made sure that they qualify with their credential to teach that. Like, for example, our UC ag teacher going to chemistry does qualify to go to chemistry, otherwise that move wouldn't be made. We are interviewing teachers latter part of this week, I believe, and we will continue to interview them until we fill our need. Single subject math is, I'm not saying they're difficult to find, but obviously if he was a single subject math teacher, we have to replace him with a teacher who has at least an authorization or a credential to teach math and maybe one other subject, depending on their what their credential allows them to do. We couldn't just replace him with a teacher with any kind of credential. So we are looking. Single subject people are extremely difficult, especially right now in math. Math people are sort of hard to find. They know that there's openings around the world for math people, and so that we're sort of at their mercy to, appeal to them. But yeah, it can be done, and we would certainly, starting early enough to start.
I believe the
Have a variety of programs.
just about my opinion. Replacing what we
We are, and I've asked that Leanne and Carol with regard to special ed, and if I can make myself available, I want to be in some of those interviews myself, so we set out to hire the best that's out there.
It's an operation on development project, on vision, section through, then come to the bottom.
Thank you. This is an opportunity that every district in California has to review every 2 years. Board of State Board of Allocation can review the factors applicable to construction development costs and the determination of snow increase maximum we are allowed to charge for developer fees associated with the district. We cannot simply charge them because they're out there by their um, so we use one of the uses for developer fees themselves is to produce reports that looks at what our enrollment trends are, what our development projections are in the district, the types of development and the types of expected residents or businesses that will be coming to because of that, and looking at different types of impacts we'll have. Fairly routine request of legislation. Developer fees are not a huge source of money for the district overall. You know, it is not a source of money that is going to wholesale fund major improvements in our district. But given the limitations on facilities money at this point, with no special categorical funds available for facilities, an essential pot of money at our disposal, even though it has a narrow definition of what it's for. So we ask that you approve the increase to developer fee.
What is it, Marianne?
For I think you know it exactly.
Developer fees for
They can be used for deferred maintenance of specific types. So they can be definition of use for developer fees for the construction or reconstruction of school facilities. Yes. So not modernization, not new construction necessarily. Maintain the level of adequacy of our facilities given what the growth trends are of.
yeah, not enough. But have you asked Rick, put a portable building at a site and basically that's what
That's an excellent example. It's one to throw into the pot of money. The other thing that the pot of money allows us to do is, you know, like I said, the study to justify why we're collecting these. You can also use that money for funding enrollment projection studies. Separate tool that currently we don't have, that I will at some point be trying to recommend to the board that we do have. It's a powerful tool, it's very active, done by developers, by demographers. And my experience, as long as you keep them current, that doesn't mean every year, it means 5 years or 10 years out. They're very likely to be active for planning purposes. Gives us a whole other tool other than simply advancing second graders to third graders to fourth graders to fifth graders and predicting how many faculty we need to accommodate them. So it can be a very powerful tool.
So if this money can't be used to modernize our school.
No.
the roof goes off. It's a bunch of contracts.
Right.
Correct. It's about maintaining. I think the key word. They're not improving.
What was it, the going rate for this area, or?
We are actually lower than that.
Well, so
Quite a
what
bit
is it?
more.
So is that the high school district?
Yeah.
That's the other thing is high school districts, elementary districts, and unified districts all have different rates.
Okay.
And then there is level 1, level 2, and level 3. We only qualify for level 1. All districts in the state have the opportunity right now. Not all districts obviously will take the opportunity to increase their fees. My understanding is that most, if not all, of the Kern County districts who currently have developer fees approved are requesting.
So haven't you already collected from the current development?
Yeah. If you were to add on to your home, following the adoption of this and following the period of the wait period before it's implemented after July 1st, you would pay it on new construction. Or if you were a developer pulling permits for new construction, you would pay the developer fees at that time. It's not a retroactive. It applies to construction that's already in. Is that what you're asking?
Because there are development projects going on in our community right now.
Yes. And so
So
when they pull the permits for that construction, they are supposed to
they've
pay
already
the,
pulled those permits.
and we're not going to go back to them. It doesn't allow us to go back to them and increase. If they have not yet pulled permits, when they go in July or August, to do that, they pay the higher rate at that time.
And this is for homes only, not
Yeah,
businesses.
this is residential and business and the stratified rate.
So go get your permit. Put your hat on.
I'm putting up a swimming pool and above ground swimming pool. I don't think
I don't think that happens.
I know. But that's what my construction is.
The permit is actually raised to 408
What was that?
for residential. So 500 square feet. And for it is covered and cents a square foot, and that's all new commercial or industrial construction. That is very much. I mean,
We're going to public comments.
What is public comments?
That's at 8:28.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments?
This is. A second.
8:28. That's Kern. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approve resolution 19/2012, increasing development projects. Fine, next item.
Thank you. So this is codification of the request to increase the provide evidence to by roll call vote explicitly to the county before they will move forward in charging fees. And so this request we take the action to do that so that we can pass it on and testify with confidence.
Okay, Brendan? Jay? Harris? Dr. Robinson?
Wait a minute, right? You said nay?
No, she said yea.
Oh, yay. And you said yay. Yay.
Yea. All in favor?
Aye.
One nay. And Roseman?
Yeah.
Okay. Four nays and one nay. Presidential report.
So every year under ordinary circumstances, we present you with the budget adoption, the preliminary budget for adoption in June, followed by the first interim and followed by the second interim. As you know, because of our certification, we are required to do the third interim. The third interim report is an option available to any district, regardless of their certification status. And it is good practice if there has been any significant change between the time period of what was identified as second interim and the end of this year. As I said in the Friday letter, and I'll sort of reiterate it here, we have the opportunity to celebrate here because we are moving from a negative certification all the way up to a positive certification. It's a brief celebration, and we'll come back to that, but I don't want to speak too much to why it's brief right now, and I will specifically say we are actively looking at budget development, staying on top of it, but there's a lot of moving pieces right now. We're getting good guidance. Superintendent James had a meeting today. I have a meeting tomorrow, and I'm expecting to have much more clarity around what we'll build our budget upon. So to really speak to that at this moment, I think it's a little bit presumptive, and I don't want to spread too much contradiction over where we're going. So back to the celebration. As we look at this, budget. The county produced this report. Did it specifically because of volume of what's going on in terms of our budget adoption process for next year, turmoil caused by the economic downturn because of COVID situation. Our recommendation that this be not adopting this, you're accepting this report as positive certification. If we can look to the next slide, thank you, Sally. We see tightening of revenues through the year. First interim is always more accurate than a budget adoption. Second interim drills down even more, and then at this point we're able to drill down even more. And we see some increases to our revenues. The most significant change is on the expenditure side, where because of the point we are in the year, we're able to really come down and estimate what will be the exact cost for wages, salaries, and benefits. Throughout the course of the year, we did have a number of salary that resulted in significant swings in the cost of employees. Some were cost increases as people left because they were entitled to vacation pay, for example, or people coming in were less expensive than the people they replaced, and so there were some adjustments down. And here we see real tightening of expenses.
Or what page?
Oh, I'm sorry. And now I'm exhausted in the dark.
You can turn the lights back on if that would be better.
Okay, sorry. The second section of page 2. Previous slide was the top section of this page, and then labor revenues, and then we're on section 2, expenditures. Sorry. So you can see an adjustment down in certificated salaries. There were some adjustments in staff in and out throughout the course of the year, and then there were some savings to an initial review of stipends that won't be filled, for example, because of activities that did not happen. We are continuing to review those, and we may actually see more savings here as a result of the stipend for extra duty that provide to the district for student services and other things that they simply weren't able to do this year. And that's actually the first tip of that consideration came from Mr. Coleman. And so suggested that we review that, and it said it made sense, and so we were able to not have to negotiate quibble over what we were doing here. We were just looking at what was something actually a performed service or not. The overall tone of the report is positive. It brought down our projected expenditures. It increased our revenues. The impact is significant when we look at the ending fund balance. And we'll jump to the next page. I want to talk to the multi-year projection quickly. Ending fund balance quickly. We took one page, probably cheapest best.
Page 3.
It looks huge on my screen. Sorry. The multi-year ending fund balance. Because I wanted to address why we jumped to positive. If we look at page 10, the trend in the ending fund balance. When we certified at second interim, the first year of the multi-year period, this year was projected to end with a deficit spending situation. So, we had made significant progress from where we began the year in terms of what we thought the structural deficit in the budget was going to be. Structural deficit between revenues and expenditures We really moved up when revenues actually came in, and that gap closed itself for us. Now we've tightened it even more, and the projection for the end of the year is that at section line number 2, there's the $802,000 number for the first time pops out. That number is largely restricted revenue. We are working now to review all available expenditures in terms of restricted grants that we can move from unrestricted money to restricted money to utilize that money this year versus the unrestricted money. Unrestricted money is far more beneficial to the district at any time because it allows us to make changes, maneuvers that we would want to do without worrying about violating the terms of the grant. We want to maximize the expenditure of those dollars in the short term, especially as we're looking at deferrals potentially moving into next year, because cash is what is more important than anything. We're not looking at losing money, we're looking at not having enough cash on hand, and those are two very different things as we talk about more budget development. Do I believe that it's always important to fully expend restricted money? No, I want to be clear about that because we are looking at in the upcoming budget cycle curriculum adoption. Some of our money comes in specifically for the restricted purpose of funding curriculum, one of the lottery sources, for example. And we have a $325,000 lottery amount moving into next year. There was a lot of concern that the lottery value earned in the next coming year was going to plummet. They're no longer saying that. They're saying that actually participation in the lottery is doing okay right now. So that's one worry off the table. But having those pots of money that are for specific things, come up cyclically is something that we have the opportunity to maximize and utilize here. And moving forward is something that I want to see the board. I want to work with the board, superintendent, to encourage making certain things explicit. So putting set aside in your ending fund balance as we return our ending fund balance is going to be essential. This is a good example of a preliminary area where that was already happening, not intentionally, but it was accumulating on its own. So we won't draw down that money this year. We'll leave that for next year so that we can fund the things that we're trying to fund next year. In the first year, one more slide. This was the look at second interim. It's an exact slide out of the presentation. And it was that first year that was negative. Second year were positive. And you can see progress year of our net position by almost $5 million. That was a significant accomplishment. No small effort, and it should be moved out right this year. At that point, there was some concern that we've had not enough money for expenditures and revenue. 2021, we're already projecting to move forward. And what are the various components that we define our budget to qualify? So it must have a positive ending balance to qualify. And I put it in there at that point because we were negative. And so we were positive out here. Why could we not be qualified this year? This is what the county used to say, we want you to do stuff as again. Was it's a negative number in the first year. Because we look next year, one more slide, thank you. Why can't we? Because we have two things outstanding. We still owe the county money. That is still on the books as we continue the amount of progress we can that money down. They paused to get back because they were looking at cash flow very closely. What they didn't want to do is see their money back and might cause us a cash shortage. Smart and wise, good for both of us in that. They were estimating over and back when they were going to get money at the end of the year. It would be July, it would be August. And out of, I think everybody's for your abundance of caution, They are now targeting the July, August model for getting the money back. So as we cross the fiscal year, we will still be listing in our um, what you see here is assets and liabilities. We'll still have a posted liability for the remaining loans to the county office. So those payments never hit expenditures or revenue. So it was never brought in as a revenue, so it never overinflated district revenue in 1 year. Had been posted as a revenue, right? It could have popped you to be positive in that year, which we know was.
Talking about July, August 2021?
We're talking just after we cross the fiscal year, they will be looking very closely at our cash and get money back. There's no change to that information that the county is fully intending to zero with us in terms of that has not changed. So the money to the county office is one piece. The other piece is the magnitude of our end balance. In the first year, we're positive, but by this definition here, from if we had been qualified, we could have gone to positive because we're showing a positive ending balance. Doesn't mean 3% reserve, but we're positive, and we 3% reserve as we move to the valuation model. And so that's what they're looking at over the course of the multi-year projection. Are you projecting at any point to deficit spend? Call attention to that, and we're not. That's a good thing. We're listed as positive. It was a significant swing from going negative to positive. I don't want to dwell on it, but I think it's worth trying to understand it. A district is not negative at any point because of the listed liabilities. The district has a number of liabilities in all of its various funds. It's only looks at the general fund, of course, but we have general obligation bonds that are out there, huge liabilities because of investments we've made into facilities over the course of time. They have guaranteed revenues, tax sources of money to fund them, and so they don't impact us as a negative certification. We adjust the tax rate on things that are out there, and we make sure we meet those obligations. We don't do it. The tax treasurer does it for us, but it's not a negative certification yet. What we're really looking at when we look at a positive certification, and I do think it's an important nuance to understand, is there's more to it than just looking at revenue expenditures over time, right? This is one. We want to know, are we deficit spending? What are we doing with our fund balance as a consequence? Certainly, it's the most important thing for the board to be aware of. Other piece that we remember is what are our assets and our liabilities? Is anyone paying attention? We have a process at every month end where we review asset and liability accounts, close that month. Big one that we look at is health and welfare deductions from staff with their contributions, health insurance, dental insurance, things like that. The district's contribution, every time we run payroll, those numbers hit. They run consistently of revenues, expenditures. So if they get off and we're not analyzing them, they're not. So that second layer of the accounting process is essential. The loans of the county live in there as well. So we have to monitor that. They do it for us. There's not a lot of payments. There's no additional money flowing into that account. But we look and make sure it's the same every month. We have a relationship with them where they tell us when they're taking the money. And it sits there. So long as we know what's there, it does not have impact on the fiscal health and integrity of the current moment.
Jonathan, I have a question for you, and I don't know if this is a typo. If you look at the on page 10, and if you look at the ending balance for the fiscal year 21-22, if you look on page 10, you will see that our ending fund balance is $7,605,524.03. I'm just a little concerned because 2021 and 21-22 have the exact same ending fund balance. on your slide. And I'm just wondering if that's a typo, because that is a significant increase in ending fund balance that would take us probably from about 10% ending fund balance to closer to like
Thank you very much.
14.
Thank you very much. I cut and paste from the cell here into here, and I cut and paste the same cell twice. So this report is correct. Slide has that error. Not in 2021, but in 21-22. Thank you, because we do. Our recovery is really significant and swift as we move 2 years out. There are a lot of options coming down the road, and that's why I think we want to be a little cautious and prudent about not laying out the various and wildly disparate budget assumptions that we have on the table right now, because they range from this is what we're going to look like to if we do nothing, this is what we're going to look like, or we have to make significant reductions if we want to look like this. And at this point, I don't have the confidence to say I want to make public that we're really well off or really dire straits, because it's not certain enough. Too many moving parts, not worth the public. Having said that, Cabinet is having conversations. We're not ignoring it. We're looking and trying to make sure we're aware of what our options and opportunities are. But the district has made really remarkable progress in the last year from where you were. We believe that holding the course, staying very focused on budget, and always remaining in line, always remaining in a decision mode that is what's best will keep us on track where we are in recovering our process.
Answered my question.
The next report that comes back to you will be this exact same report. To be clear about it, and so we'll probably move it to the consent time. What it is just the projected actuals. It's a required report that happens in June at the same time we present you the budget adoption numbers. The county has said they don't see any reason for us to do a different report from this with that report.
What is the projection for the reserve? What's the timeline on that?
For having one, we set up a model to have one in the following year, to have more than the 3% reserve in the following year.
So at the beginning,
It's a projection for the end. So the net effect of the entire year's revenue and expenditure would leave us with the 4.2.
at
4.2 million at the end of the year, right?
Closer to about 10%, correct?
Yeah, we make a huge jump in this month. Absolutely. This is actual calculation.
I got one.
Okay.
Just to address some of the letters. About our employee design self. Our office. Several emails, them no response. But I need no response. Even though we have an employee, I know sometimes, but I never want to make it so that not want to ignore. That's unprofessional.
this is the second time there's been a complaint.
Second, then the second letter, is, I call this profile. As football season. And do we have anything? We probably can't do anything for the summer, like we normally do because of the virus and that, but the football season, do, have a coach? Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
That would be a position, we would probably fly that position, use the, open it up to who might be interested, and who's, again, qualified to be a football coach at the varsity level. That would be my goal, first and foremost, and then, we have that might come forward.
Do we do that in-house first and,
Oh,
huh?
I know we have a lot of things on our plate, and that's still way out there. And, I know they start football training or whatever they have during the summer, which may not be a lot of.
I think, Mr. Bender, to sort of help all of us at this time try to understand is every Tuesday, my team of seven wonderful cabinet members, all meet in here, distance meeting at the same time, sort of spread around. Um, Unfortunately, for any school district right now, I think in the state of California, there is such a high level of uncertainty. We were asked by our county superintendent what is our proposed date to Kern. I can tell you that many of the districts in Kern were right there with us, August 12, August 10, some of them, it was one or two that are heading back the end of July, a couple of them that are going back after Labor Day. But yet, that being said, we still haven't been told by the governor, are we back? Are we back in school? And so there's, and when I think about the past 2 months, I would like to say I'm one of the people who think perhaps never gone out of school. But that being said, I'm not the governor, I'm not the county superintendent. So we'll have to sort of wait and see. Every time we have a meeting with the superintendent, I'm hoping that that's addressed. But I think she too, and her cabinet probably get guidance from the governor. You know, little by little, I think they're starting to open up counties, different aspects of the county. But our goal is to be back in school, you know, kids in their seats August 12th. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what about summer school. I'd like to be able to offer some level of summer school for the kids who this learning perhaps didn't really benefit them, and they found themselves maybe falling a little bit behind. And I really, if I have to do it, distance learning again, I will do it, perhaps offer it, but how does that help the kids who are already behind and do not learn well in distance learning? So I'd like to, if possible, bring the kids back for summer school, but I'm waiting for direction on that as well.
I'm sure maybe that this better for her is more concerned in the past year, starting they had a football program going on it. They actually call it football roles, but it actually the football coach got cited. They call it weight training. That's probably what she's trying to address, to find out if there's something that's going to actually start in June for the football team. If the answer is no, it may not be.
Well, don't we need to find out if the leagues are going to be running? I mean, we
Yes,
have
is
to
there
have
an AD
people
in
who,
place?
There is talk at the high school, Mr. Kingsley is offering maybe a couple of prep periods, a teacher on staff to take on that role and responsibility. Here again, it's hard for me to move forward with even putting that in place if I don't know if I'm going to have sports and have a need for an AD. So it's kind of like when that egg cracks, we'll be able to move in multiple directions. But it all, again, cracking that egg is the governor.
I would
prep all that now. Have somebody in place. When this happens, you're gonna do it. Same way with coaching. Okay, you're gonna be coaching. As soon as we get the okay to go ahead and practice, you go. Uh, that way you don't have to scramble at the last second. Have nobody.
And there's a reason why I know that the rest of them, I know football, they plan their schedule years out. But all the other teams that is significant, that the schedule might be built on the schedule, or other forward built schedule. And like football, the helmet's gotta go out. They can be out now, nobody's doing that. Hey, football's going on. Yeah, because we're not moving forward, helmets, stuff like that, requirements that have to be met before we have to play. And there are rules out there that forward on it, build box schedules and call, because you have to call for your own basketball, or is that built? You scramble to build your own basketball schedule. Yeah, so I mean, if you're not doing that, and the schedule is off. So I'm just wondering, why are they rules, notional, and
You'll have to,
norm doing the, that all this stuff that happens before you start taking that risk.
I think have a one.
That's what,
And then, get ready, okay, go. And I'm sure this letter is leading up to what's gonna happen for my children in June. Play football.
You know, every parent has the right to ask that. If I had a child playing sports, I'd be very concerned myself, especially if there's a potential of any kind of an athletic scholarship or anything there. Again, one of the things that Barth was very reluctant to talk about this evening is that the other side of this coin is that we are hearing that we could be, the COLA for this year was at about 2.31%. We are not getting that COLA, and they estimate that not only are we not getting that, but we're also not going to receive about 7.69% of our normal funding. And if you add those two together, it equates to 10%. If you took 10% off of our LCFF funding, that's a substantial amount of money that there might be more than sports lost in the big scheme of things. So I think there's just so much uncertainty at the moment. I have no problem, putting those things in place. Optimistic that we're going to proceed because why not? I would love to return to as normal as possible, as soon as possible. But I just want the board to be cognizant of the fact that we were already being told that our June, we will have a 10-day deferral. The money we should be getting in June, we will not get until 10 days later in July. So we have to make sure that we can make payroll at the latter part of June. So we have to see about those types of those things before we, everything has to sort of fit in place. Our first priority will be making sure we educate our kids. And so,
well, that gets later question why we're positive. I mean, you're telling us you can snapshot tonight, tomorrow we get back to negative. Why are we?
well, let me answer that, and then Jonathan, you can butt in. If this is what we were told, Mr. Tanksley, if everything happens that was outlined in the May revise, we will be one of many districts in the negative. It won't just be Southern Kern anymore.
Yeah.
We will be one of many.
And part of what this reflects is exactly that trying to reflect the fact that this district did what it's supposed. At no point did you break rank after they checked out. When Barbara and I came here, um, they backed off a little bit. They really did. And we've had very few times when we were told no. And they were still looking at what we were putting out as expenditures, but they really weren't, because they were seeing that we were following their rules, right? We weren't putting in programs, we weren't spending money on things that we hadn't planned to, we were being prudent. And I think they wanted to reflect that partly. But what Superintendent Kane said is true. Jeff, who has been very engaged with us, ran a model on everyone counting second interim, assuming only the revenue side changes, no expenditure side changes. Almost every district goes negative. We're the most vulnerable because we have that really low fund balance. The districts with a high fund balance, they go negative, assuming no change. That's worst case scenario, of course. There are other positive things too, and I want to throw them out there because we've thrown out the really negative. There are potential, they haven't been approved yet, lots of proposals for various new sources of money coming from different places, coming from some of the bailout money that the state has put forward and the feds have put forward, and future money that we think may get put forward by the feds targeted at schools, and how they will allocate them. In different school districts come out different school districts come out as winners in that scenario. That's what I'd say probably. And given that and I like this language, I'm stealing it from school services, the old revenue limits model of funding districts in California was based on equality, wanting everyone to have basically the same amount of money. Shifting to LCFF is an equity model, which recognizes that different school districts have different students and that they don't come with the same needs. And so we are one of the districts there that get more money. So some of the potential money coming in will be a win for a district like ours. So we don't want to throw out the stress of we've got to cut millions of dollars when there's the potential for us to actually be comfortable moving forward.
So on your question on sports, is there any way we look at posture?
So we can look at it. One thing that should be happening.
Yeah, coaching, equipment, all that stuff. So if we do gotta cut, have a racket set, cost, stuff like that, posture.
Absolutely. And the reconditioning thing, I made a note here. We have somebody in charge of athletics right now who would presumably be doing that work. So we should follow up. I haven't seen it. I wouldn't necessarily see it come through as a purchase order because it's routine. But I will follow up and see if it happens.
And another letter,
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
traditionally, when you're buying that, you're getting negative. People are looking for that reason. I would want my way out, really negative, but sometimes in that kind of mind, there are valuable bits once you screw through all the garbage that people offer negative. Bits and good stuff. Asking a lot of people. Very well be, but I know I didn't actually my way out. I on that because I world
I say that my knowledge thinks that we're not doing that. But I'll ask HR for sure because it's the first time someone has really brought up doing an exit interview. I know that the young lady who wrote in her letter today that she had a bad experience in her with an HR employee was already resigning prior to this. It just looks like she stepped up her date. I do believe that when I investigate this, and I will see for sure, but I believe there's some there's some other outliers that may not know.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't wanna- Could I- say, we're attracting,
Well,
Just about.
I think you're right on, and I think that, much as I say this, but I think it's, a little bit of a learning experience for me as well, Mr. Shanks, because, the MOU clearly states that if, employees are out because of the COVID or, something as dire as the COVID, that they should be out on using their leave time. And as I said, for almost 2 months, that was not the case.
I can't. Yeah. That MOU, I'm sorry. The MOU, the MOU delineates when we charge time very specifically. So, to avoid, exempting people who, under ordinary circumstances, would have been using the leave time. So they use, I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. It avoids not using the leave time of people who, under ordinary circumstances, would have been using their leave time, and we do charge them for their leave time. For example, it is I believe our MOU is in line with that new development in our employment law. It may actually. I didn't want to go down the road of nitpicking earlier, though sometimes it's hard to do. There are a number of things in the letter that I want to follow up on because it wasn't entirely reflective of the reality of the MOU. I mean, so a lot of time, I didn't do it, a lot of time we negotiated the MOU and went back and forth between our superintendent, legal, our local CSEA, and their CSEA support. And it was very clear that one of the things to bargain, if they were to be paid any other ways other than the salary schedule they obviously had, that would have been the time and place to negotiate it, and it didn't emerge from that negotiations process. And so we didn't violate anything. They were fully aware as they signed up on that MOU that it wasn't part of the compensation that we expected during this period.
Unless they work during spring break.
Unless during spring break.
They were paid additional for that.
They were paid additional, but not a different rate. Right. So they made more money for working the spring break. Absolutely, they did.
And
We
they
did not.
chose to work.
They chose to work. It was not forced in any way or coerced. No one has lost. The number 4 of Mr. Newsom's directives was pay your employees. No one has been deducted wages. Even if they've been out of leave time, we have to pay them, as is written in it. I believe, like I said before, we have complied with the MOU, or where we haven't, it's always been an employee's favor. And it's just an employee's favor. So not because we like one employee better than another.
It's unfortunate that I had to bring child nutrition people in to teach the children, but that's what I had to do.
That was long.
And it was voluntary, you're right. And I
Those
think it's
who didn't
important
want
to say
to
that.
come were not doctors.
Right.
Now, make a motion for adjournment.